Kevin, we're only a few days removed from what, in many people's eyes, is the segment of the year. LA Knight, The Miz, one on one in the ring. This was explosive. This was intense. Miz was beat red in the face. LA Knight was saying, yeah, talking about being a thoroughbred racehorse. Kevin, everyone wants your opinion. You're
Oh my
infamous for your
god.
stances on The Miz. You've made some scandalous takes in previous years and episodes about how the Miz hasn't had a good segment besides a talking smack promo in 15 years. Kevin, I'm going to right away kick off a late heat by passing to you, pal. What were your honest thoughts on LA 9 The Miz? Was this segment of the year?
All right, so I'm going to say this about this segment. The content of the segment and the content of the promos and the way they were delivered, I think is a standard, I'd say like an A minus segment, you know? Very good segment that we'll talk about for years and years to come. Well, some people will talk about for years and years to come. Now, the problem that I have with it lies here. It's the people that are delivering the content in the promos. If this was like LA Knight talking to somebody like Seth Rollins, that'd be a different story. You know, when The Miz is using the verbiage like, I'm the main event. I've been here. I'm the guy. Like, if that's Seth Rollins saying that, okay, cool, fair. You know, Seth Rollins main event at WrestleManias. Seth Rollins has been a top of the card guy pretty much his entire career in WWE. No problem. When it's coming from The Miz, a guy who is like, for lack of a better phrase, is a utility player. You know, he's the guy that, you know, WWE, they need somebody to do a local news TV appearance in like Cincinnati, Ohio. Okay, The Miz will be there 11 a.m. talking weather and talking WWE Raw with the weather lady, whatever. The Miz is that guy that's gonna main event a C-level show like Stomping Grounds or whatever, Fast Lane, whatever show you want to insert there. Miz is not like a main event guy. So for me, that takes away just a little that oomph when watching this segment. Because like I said, in wrestling terms, it's really good. Standard A minus, B plus. It's your standard good segment. Miz has that passion, that fire that people love. And I understand why this promo or this segment is like so just what's the phrase that people are using? Segment of the year?
Beloved, getting such hype, such positive reviews. You understand that, pal?
I understand why. I do. It's two guys that Twitter really likes, in particular. You know, Twitter really likes The Miz. Twitter really likes LA Knight. So it makes sense that this is being praised. It's just like it's a shoe-in for that segment of the audience. I just don't think that this is not. This isn't really the best way to get LA Knight the best reach that you can get. Like a casual fan, for example, like one of my friends, someone that stopped watching wrestling 10 years ago, right? If I show them, hey, this is LA Knight, this is the next best thing in WWE, he's the top selling merch guy, here he is, watch this segment. They're gonna be like, wait, is that The Miz? Like, what? That's the guy? Like, that's the Miz is still around? Like, why? Like,
Yeah.
why do I care? You know? Like I said, if it's Seth Rollins doing it, or if it's a guy like Cody, somebody like that, that's on the other end with LA Knight, I think it elevates the segment and it makes it more mainstream and more appealing to the casual audience.
Yeah, it did feel like a segment that was sort of catered to Twitter. I will say that. Delivery from both guys, I will say, was quite good. That's the main sort of praise I will say. Both guys, albeit the content, as you say, it was, especially on the Miz's side, very questionable. The delivery was really good. You know, Miz beat red in the face. He's yelling. He's, you know, going on about how you strip away, you know, my WrestleMania main event, my double Grand Slam champion status, which is so ridiculous. You strip away the hot wife, pal, which got a cheap pop. I'm still a hard-working guy, pal. As you made the analogy, The Miz is that guy, Kevin. He shows up to Google day in, day out for 20 years. He's the interim manager, pal. That is The Miz, pal. But more so to the question itself, was The Miz, LA Knight segment of the year? No. There have been over a half dozen Roman Reigns bloodline segments that are easily better than this. Off the top of my head, I can think of like 3 in the last couple months. You've got the one, the Roman 1000 segment that was like 35 minutes. Roman gets the hot mustard title. And then it's this emotional thing with the Usos. There's that one. There was the
Tribal
what do they
Court.
call tribal court, like the rules of engagement, tribal chief segment. I mean, there was that one. There was the one where Roman's about to hand the layover and like Roman's crying. He takes a knee on SmackDown MSG. Like all of those are so far clear of this. I think of a bunch of Cody segments, a few of the Cody like promos, to open Raw sort of thing. Just Cody generally cutting promos on Brock, Cody and Roman in WrestleMania season. Clear this. Some of the Sami Zayn segments. Sami Zayn coming out in Montreal with his old theme song the day before Elimination Chamber, as the whole arena didn't let him speak for 10 minutes. That was better than this. This segment was a good work shoot style promo, Kevin. As you know, that's going to get the feedback that it's the best thing we've ever seen because work shoot promos go over so well with a segment of the audience. But really, was it? Was it the best thing since sliced bread? Not really. Will this really help LA Knight? I mean, a feud with The Miz, sure. Is that better than him potentially just beating Theory and winning the US title? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe The Miz can get another element out of LA Knight. The Miz can cut more. I got kicked out of the locker room by an unnamed individual 16 years ago. Go watch Kevin's video on that. The views are spiking. I got kicked out of the locker room. God. So you're a thoroughbred horse. I have stepping stones in my crutch, pal. I'm going to beat you at Clash of Champions. Like,
Oh, man. Yeah, I want to say that, too. Shout out to The Miz for mentioning that the locker room story, making my videos just spiking views. So, hey, more power to him. He can keep talking about it all he wants. Like, The Miz, is he the biggest babyface on Twitter, on wrestling Twitter right now? I think he is. Either him or LA Knight.
I mean, as we said, The Miz shows up to work.
Yeah.
So I guess, you have to just love him how he shows up. I mean, there are people at my work, I'm sure you can relate to this. There are people who've been there a while, they show up. Are they, exceedingly brilliant and deserving of tons of praise from the online? I mean, not really. They're just there. But that being said, Kevin, I want to ask you one other thing. You raised this in our Discord. As far as LA Knight, and I guess we've sort of discussed this in weeks passing, but when it comes to like taking him seriously, and when you're watching this segment, you mentioned just before that if you showed someone who's never seen LA Knight, or you show someone being like, this is LA Knight, this is the guy who has the hot merch sales, this is the one who's getting the reactions, this is why you should love him. Could you take this LA Knight performance versus The Miz? Could you translate that into a Roman Reigns feud, into a big main event feud for a big pay-per-view, into a big Cody Rhodes feud, a big Seth Rollins feud? Do you think this would translate?
Well, firstly, Miz said it best when he said that LA Knight is an Attitude Era cosplay guy. I mean, now coming from The Miz, a guy who spent his entire career ripping off The Rock, I don't know if that's the best guy you want out delivering that promo, that line, whatever. So what that tells me, at least, that WWE and LA Knight himself is aware of the comparisons to The Rock and Stone Cold, or not even comparisons, that like borrowing from their work. So yeah, with that being said, this version of LA Knight, I could not see as the guy that, let's say, come, I don't know, December 2023, right? You got Rikishi out there, you got Alpha and Sika, you got Paul Heyman, you got they got pictures of whoever is not with us, Yokozuna and who's the murderer, Jimmy Snuka. You got all those guys out there, right? And they're doing this, like, I don't know what you would call it, this like praisal.
Yeah, celebration of the tribal chief, 3.5 years celebration, giving Roman Reigns a 4th championship belt. One of these segments, the official kicking out of Jey Uso from the family, something like that.
Yeah, you got Jimmy and Jay and Solo out there, all the elders, everybody's made up, they're all hugging made up, the bloodline's back together. And then out comes LA Knight to interrupt this segment that's going to draw like 3.5 million people because it's Roman. And LA Knight's just like, not in my ring, Papa. Like, I couldn't see that as like a top of the card act. Like the top of the card, like with Roman Reigns. Like, yeah, LA Knight is a great talent and he's fun to watch in promos and he's entertaining and all that. But is The Miz right? Is The Miz going to be right, I should say? Are people in 5 months not going to care? I think The Miz watches Elite Heat, because I feel like I've said this already on this show, that nobody's really going to care about LA Knight in 5 to 6 months. Like, that's the question I have. And the Miz has that same question. So if the Miz is asking that, there's some truth to that. Like, not all of that is like storyline, you know. So I don't know.
Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah, LA Knight comes down once again. It's been this like 20-minute emotional segment. Heyman's sobbing. He's hugging Arthur. Rikishi's there. He's angrily scolding Jey Uso. They're officially going to kick both the Usos out of the family. They're going to disown the Usos. This is after like a legendary 4-month Uso versus Uso storyline. They're going to get them out of the family. Roman scolded them for like 8 straight minutes. Some of the most scathing content you'll ever see. Real, deep, personal Samoan hatred. And then you hear LA Knight comes out. He's on the he's like, yeah. And he gets in the ring. He's like, sticks and stones, but that necklace is made of bones. Yeah. Yeah. And then he's like, Roman Reigns, I'm a thoroughbred racehorse. I was going parallel to you in WWE, but I was in the Indies. But now I'm not, pal. Now I'm here. Say yeah. Yeah. And now I'm going to beat you for that title. Say yeah. Yeah. And then he walks out and it's like, oh my God, what? Like, you know? Like, I don't know. But yeah, Kevin, point being, see where it goes. You know, the segment itself, because that's all we have seen so far with this Miz and LA Knight thing. This is going to lead to a several month-long storyline. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's just like a 1-month little feud and then it's over. The Miz can go back to catering and go back to the main event, as he called it, pal. Like, that was... Once, can I just touch on that again? Yeah. That was so weird. The Miz is like, I'm the main event. I'm like, main event of what? Like the 70-minute mark of Raw? Like, what do you main event, Miz? You don't main event pay-per-views. You don't main event Raw. You main evented that like 11 years ago and everyone hated that because it was bad. Like, what do you main event, Mike? Do you main event Miz and Mrs. at the 11:30 p.m. point on the USA Network once everyone's fallen asleep watching Raw and it's on the afterflow, and so that show gets ratings because people fell asleep watching Raw? Is that what you main event, Miz? I don't know. But that being said, Kevin, over to you. Any more ruthless thoughts on this, or can we move on, pal?
So the last thing I want to say about this is that I assume that I'm assuming an assumption here by WWE in the creative direction is that this segment and segments like this that we'll see, I assume, for the next few weeks with The Miz, where The Miz is really going at LA Knight, it's designed to elevate LA Knight, to get him to cut more serious promos, to get him to be taken more serious. But the problem, again, lies within the fact that it's The Miz doing this stuff. That's the problem with it all. Like, when Cena is, like, cutting Roman Reigns to shreds, leading up to No Mercy 2017, Cena's out there trying to get Roman to the next level, trying to get him to cut serious promos, trying to get rid of the stench of suffering succotash and Jack and the Beanstalk, stories. We're trying to get that stench away from him. Miz is trying to get LA Knight away from being a cosplayer of Stone Cold and into being LA Knight. But it's The Miz. That's the problem. That's where it lies. It's, you know, you got a guy out there claiming to be a main eventer who's, what does he do? He doesn't do anything. He hasn't been a main eventer in 13 years. Since like late 2010, early 2011. That was the last time The Miz was a main eventer.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it with that. That's all I gotta say.
There it goes. Well, it's a watch this space. It certainly is. We'll happily lead off shows with this because I think it's an interesting talking point. So we'll touch base on this. We'll keep our eyes on it in weeks to come. Now, Kevin, I think we're ready to move on to something which... This is big, Kevin. This is a guy who Lil Uzi Vert put a song out about, pal. This is Shinsuke Nakamura, pal.
No.
The man, the emperor of the Kinshasa knee strike.
Yep.
He seemingly is now going to be the next in line to take on Seth Rollins. Interesting. Rollins, he obviously won at SummerSlam through all these shenanigans. It looks like they're not doing Rollins versus Balor again, thankfully.
Thank you, JBL. Thank you, JBL.
Thank you, Paul Levesque, for thinking of a new, fresh matchup at 11:30 p.m. as you're laying in bed with your wife. Thank you. We'll take this. So, Kevin.
Oh, my God.
I'll pass to you. Now, this will probably be the payback match. I don't know if it's going to main event. They're probably going to main event with Jimmy versus Jey Uso, it looks like. But this will be the payback World Heavyweight Championship match. Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura, the man who has a Lil Uzi Vert song named after him. What are your ruthless thoughts, Kevin? What are your honest opinions when you go to bed at night and you're thinking about Nakamura versus Rollins? What's the first thing you think of, pal?
Oh man, wow, great question. I'm gonna follow that up with a question. I'm gonna do a classic bit of mine. So this is
Yep.
gonna be a title match at Payback.
Yep.
What is Shinsuke Nakamura getting payback on Seth Rollins for, or vice versa? Did Seth Rollins like not shake his hand one day after a match? Was Nakamura not back there clapping for Rollins after one of his Monday Night Rollins matches in 2019 where he tore the house down on Raw? Nakamura gave him the cold shoulder because he was upset that he didn't get TV time. What is the payback for? That's all I want to know. Is Rollins upset that Nakamura got a song on Lil Uzi Vert's album? Did Lil Uzi Vert hit up Rollins and say, "I'm making a song about you called The Curb Stomp, bro," and then he left it off the album? Is Nakamura mad that Rollins was on sneaker shopping with Complex? What is the payback here? That's all I want to know. Now, I digress. With that being said, do you want to say anything, pal?
Well, Kevin, to quote you, Triple H wrote Nakamura's name on a piece of paper, therefore it's great. If Vince McMahon wrote Nakamura's name on a piece of paper, it would be bad, Kevin. Remember that, pal.
Well, the execution would also be really bad. We'd have Nakamura making racially insensitive jokes about Seth Rollins.
Pal, you have a segment with like Rollins visiting Tokyo and like insulting people. It'd be awful. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, pal, I don't even know. Once again, I'm happy it's not Finn Balor again. That's just the starters. Thank you once again, Triple H, for not putting a guy who's literally my
Thank you,
height, my
JBL.
dimensions, my physique, my aesthetic in a world heavyweight championship match, because I am not a heavyweight. Finn Balor's not a heavyweight. He should be nowhere near a heavyweight championship. He's a featherweight. Anyway, nonetheless, we're getting Nakamura. So once again, fresh matchup. But as you say, what are we going to do for the story? Was Nakamura hard done by? Did he deserve better 4 years ago when Vince McMahon was putting together the Stomping Grounds 2019 card, and he said Nakamura is going to be on the kickoff show and Rollins is going to be main eventing with Becky Lynch and Baron Corbin? Is that what happened? It was Rollins hard done by in 2018 because his IC title match was made to open WrestleMania 34 versus Balor and Miz, whereas Nakamura's WWE Championship low blow nutshot match against AJ Styles was later in the show. Is that what? It waits to be seen. I guess they're pushing Nakamura because he has a song. It can't be because of anything he's done in WWE TV in the last 2 or 3 years, because maybe I'm forgetting something. I can't tell you what Nakamura has done in WWE TV. I don't know. Has he done anything? Am I having a Jimmy the Elitist brain fade here? Has Nakamura been doing some legendary content? I'm just like forgetting it. I'm being dismissive. Like, what's Nakamura done? And now he's attacking Rollins to close Raw. Raws are finishing with Nakamura strutting up the aisleway with the shot being like Cody in the background, looking at Rollins' lifeless body. Like, I guess that's how Raws end now. Okay, sure. And Raw was fantastic, pal. Also, that's the other thing, I guess. I mean, Raw was fine. It wasn't as bad as the Raw after Mania, but fantastic? Really? If Vince McMahon wrote that same show, you'd be saying it was not good or bad. So can we keep some consistency, please? But nonetheless, Kevin, your thoughts. I just said a lot there.
You did.
Any opinions, pal? Any breakdown for us?
Yes. So let's be fair to this match for a moment. Nakamura is a great hand. Seth Rollins is a great hand. To my knowledge, I don't think these guys have wrestled for a good amount of time or had a significant match in their time in WWE. I'm sure they had like a Intercontinental title match on TV like 3 years ago or something, but I don't remember it. So, a point that you brought up earlier that I want to elaborate on is the fact that in the Vince era, we would have gotten, Seth Rollins versus Fergie until we couldn't take it anymore. Until like we were like Undertaker in the guillotine, just tapping out. We just, Brock Lesnar's choking the life out of us, and we've seen enough of Seth Rollins and Fergie. I'm over it. That'd be the Vince era. They would literally have a match. They'd have the Money in the Bank match, SummerSlam. Then they'd have Payback. Then they'd have a match at Saudi Arabia. And we'd be like, please, for the love of God, no more Seth Rollins and Fergie. So I'm happy for something different. I like Nakamura. I've always been a Nakamura fan. WWE, I would say they haven't used him properly. I think they could get more out of him. And this is an opportunity here for maybe a rebirth of Nakamura. Maybe we'll see a good match, which I think we will. I have no real complaints about this, aside from a logical standpoint, like why this is going to be happening at Payback. I guess Seth Rollins is going to get payback on Nakamura because Nakamura kicked him to close Raw, but we didn't know they were buddies before that, so I don't know. It's interesting, but it doesn't really need to have a story behind it. We just got to get to the ring. It's going to be a good match. Could be the best title defense of the Seth Rollins World Heavyweight title era. Maybe.
Well, as long as there's not like 45 interferences and a Money in the Bank briefcase bouncing around like there was at SummerSlam, pal. I watched that last 5 minutes back of the Rollins and Balor match, and I nearly got a headache watching the Money in the Bank briefcase. Just like, it's rolled out, it's rolled in, it's rolled out, it's rolled in, it's rolled out, it's rolled in. Priest has it, Balor has it, Dom has it, Dirty Dom pal, Rhea. And like, it was like a pinball machine with the Money in the Bank briefcase. It was weird. But anyway, Kevin, yeah. I mean, the match will be good. I guess that's all people care about. I don't know. I just saw Nakamura run down, and he's involved with the end of the Raw, pal. And so, oh, okay, cool. I guess I haven't seen him really in the last few months. Sure.
There you
Whatever.
go. Yeah.
There you have it, pal. Do you want to move on to the next intense topic on our show?
I'd love to.
Kevin, I'll just throw this straight to you. Women's wrestling, Triple H, talk to us.
Ooh. All right. So Triple H addressed the state of women's wrestling at the SummerSlam post-show press conference, or as AEW calls it, a media scrum. So he had Triple H out there. You know, he's sitting there in a suit. He's looking jacked. He's answering questions. And a nice young lady, a nice young reporter, asked him a question about female talent in WWE. And essentially, she asked him, in a roundabout way, she asked him if at any point in time has WWE just given main events to women because they're women and
Yes.
they want to push an agenda, essentially.
Yes.
And Triple H's response was, well, I see women as women. I see them as, not women. I see women as talent. I don't see men and women as separate. I just see them all as talent. If a woman's good and the match is good, we're going to put it on as the main event. That's basically what he said. Now, why this is interesting and why we're talking about this is because of the controversy of the Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus match being scraped off the SummerSlam 2023 card. So, you know, we had a Mike's Harder segment. You know, we had a 20-minute triple threat match. We had an opening match that didn't need to be 20 minutes.
Yes.
They could have shaved 10 minutes off of Roman and Jimmy Uso, Roman and Jey Uso. And there we could have got a nice, 11 minutes for Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
Just right there. I'm just saying. But I digress. So this really brings me to a point where, with the women's division, where things are not changing. That's the thing. The women, they get good spots on TV. They have stars. They have Bianca. They have Becky. They have Rhea Ripley. But there's not a real focus on them, on the talent, on building challengers. They've got the pillars. They got no challengers for them. They're trying to build Raquel Gonzalez into a challenger for Rhea Ripley, Rhea Ripley, did she wrestle? I know she didn't wrestle on SummerSlam. Did she wrestle at Night of Champions? I don't think she did. So Rhea Ripley is the women's champion and hasn't defended the belt in quite a while on a PLE. And this is kind of the theme, where it's just like, with the women's division, it just feels like it's not important. And it's been like that for a long time. Probably since like 2019-ish. No, maybe after like after the dust settled with with Becky and her being a main eventer, maybe like around the time when she got pregnant. So since the pandemic, the women's division has felt like an afterthought. What do you think?
It's a weird one. I mean, yes, no. It's very dependent on, one, who we're talking about and where you think they should be booked on the show. Because to me, I get the angle that, Rhea Ripley's had one title defense in the last 3-4 months, maybe 2, but really one that we've seen that I can remember, that was Backlash against Zelina Vega, and that she was never going to lose that. That was always obvious. Then you've got like the Charlotte Flair portion of the card, where whatever she's involved in, where it's like, oh, Charlotte's the queen, pal. Oh, Bianca Belair's there. Cool. Oh, it's Asuka, pal. She has missed. And Becky Lynch, who is probably the best like all-round talent in women's wrestling as far as promos, in-ring, presentation. But I don't know. It's an interesting question as far as are they just treated equally as it should be? It should be all about equality, but I guess that doesn't fully favor women, so I guess that's sexist. I don't know. It's a fine sort of line. So Triple H's answer in that press conference is basically, everyone's equal. They're all talents. We, try and display our talents the best we can. There you go. And then the sort of response was, women and certain portions, not everyone, obviously, certain portions of the audience, like women need to be pushed more. And it's like, well, I mean, okay, fair, but isn't that misandry against men? Aren't there some men who need to be pushed more? Like it depends. It's interesting. So I look at what you say there, and I agree, Kevin. I do. I did that whole bit during the SummerSlam review. I shaved like an hour and a half off SummerSlam just by cutting off 15 minutes off matches that didn't need to go 30 minutes, by chopping off matches that didn't need to be there. Mike's hardest segments of the Alpha Academy and the Miz being put in a box. The main event Miz being put in a box in the Alpha Academy commercial segment. Sure. Like, then you look at the structure of the show and it's like, yeah, I get it. But I don't know. To me, Kevin, I'll say this and feel free to disagree. I think the women's division, it's sort of found like I guess I'll call it a holding pattern. It's not being accelerated like it was, but it's not just like crap like it was 11 years ago. It's sort of just in a holding pattern. It's just sort of there. It's, they'll have the Becky and Trish segment. Becky will be drinking lemonade at ringside, pal, on commentary. They'll have, an Oscar segment with Bianca Belair on a SmackDown. They'll have Rhea Ripley there with the Judgment Day. They'll have Raquel and Liv Morgan having their match, in the 2-hour point of Raw. But really, there's not much else there.
Yeah.
It's sort of just like it is what you get, really. So yeah, is it sort of stagnant? Yes. Is it sort of just there now? Yes. Is Triple H an evil person because he views people equally? He shouldn't be seen that way. I think of all criticisms we can have of Triple H, that's not one of them. So there you go, pal.
There it is. There it is, pal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else on that, pal? Or you're gonna leave it there?
Yeah. The only thing I want to say real quick is this: when it comes to like this Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus thing being cut from the show, is that the end of the world? Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's that big of a deal. They're gonna wrestle at Payback, which is still an important show. Like, you can't have every match on SummerSlam. The tag team champions weren't even on there.
I'll further on that. Just double down on your point, pal. They picked the wrong women's match to be on SummerSlam. I mean, Ronda and Shayna killed the momentum of that show, and we'll transition into just one more SummerSlam topic in a minute. But that Ronda Shayna match, when I reflect on SummerSlam, that destroyed the flow of that event. Like, that match single-handedly made it from the show's going along well, fun opener, enjoyable Brock and Cody match, LA Knight Battle Royal, and it's like, oh my god, what's this crap? This festering turd we're watching where they're fake wrestling, but it's supposed to be real, but it's not actually real because it's not MMA officially, but it's not sanctioned, but apparently it is sanctioned, and there was a knee strike, pal, and Ronda couldn't break the Kirifuda, pal. Like, and then that killed the momentum of the show. So to double down there, yeah, Becky and Trish should have been on SummerSlam instead of what's the name? Shayna Baszler, the one Triple H is going to give a year-long women's title run to, and Ronda Rousey, who everyone was sick of 3 years ago. So there you go, pal.
There it is. Yeah. So let's transition into SummerSlam 2023. So I'll ask you this: How, in your mind, Mr. Jimmy, how will SummerSlam 2023 be remembered in, say, 5 years?
It's hard because SummerSlam 2020, as we discussed in the review and as you broke down really well, it's a strange sort of show. Like, there was nothing that was like 5-star exceedingly great. I mean, there was one sort of bad match with the Ronda and Shayna match, but there was a lot of matches that were good, pretty good, but had flaws. Either went on 5 minutes too long, the ending wasn't great, it was messy, it was like the fourth, fourth time they've wrestled. Or in the case of Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, it's a 36-minute match where everyone and their mother knows Jey Uso is not going to win because the titles are involved. So I was like, oh, okay, well, it's sort of flat. So when it comes to how the show is going to be remembered, I'm not going to remember it overly fondly, personally. Like, there's not going to be a SummerSlam I look back on and think, yes, that was an awesome show I want to go watch back. I view 2021 as better than that. I view 2013 as better. I view 2015 as better. And that's just in recent times. That's not mentioning 2002. That's not mentioning 1992. It's not mentioning any of the shows 1998, like these other SummerSlams. So, I don't know. It falls like midway to kind of just generally middle of the pack, middle of the rung SummerSlam. I know you gave it a 5.5. I gave it a 6. I don't reflect on it overly like that fondly just because of how it was booked personally. So that's just me, Kevin. Now for you, 4 days in the rearview mirror, you're sitting there, you're at work, you're on break, you're sitting there, you've had your little sizing about wrestling, pal. You're thinking, how do I remember that show? How would you remember it, pal?
Well, you see, here's the thing, pal. I'm gonna look back and I'm gonna be thinking about that while I'm having my lunch. I'm thinking
Yep.
about SummerSlam 2023.
Yep.
And I right now, like even at this moment, I'm struggling to remember all the matches that were on that show, just off the top of my head. Um, I
So
don't know.
forgettable.
Yeah,
Forgettable.
it's forgettable. Yeah, it's one of those shows that it just not every SummerSlam is going to be a banger. Not every pay per view, not every PLE that Triple H puts out is going to be a banger. But I mean, it was still solid, like average. It was average. It was fine. Not the worst piece of wrestling you could ever watch. It's not like SummerSlam 2010. It's not just the absolute bottom of the barrel from a creative standpoint, but it's not a high point of the pay per view. And when you think about it, it got me thinking about long term or in the general scope of things. SummerSlam seems to not be a show that really lives up to its moniker. There's not a lot of great, like, S tier SummerSlams. There's '02, maybe 2013 is S tier. Maybe 90,
98.
98,
98.
94, maybe. I don't know. It just seems like we've had 28, right? 27, whatever, however long SummerSlam's been around now. Or no, not 28,
Yeah.
30, like 35 years of SummerSlam, whatever it's been.
Yeah.
It's been around just as long as WrestleMania, if not longer. And there's at least like 7 or 8 S tier WrestleManias. I don't think there's that many S tier SummerSlams. So I don't know what it is about this show or why WWE can't deliver on it. But this one, I just think for me, it was too many rematches that just kind of killed it. The Ronda Rousey Shayna thing killed the whole crowd. Like the crowd was just sitting on their hands after that Ronda and Shayna match. And I listened to a podcast, a wrestling podcast. I won't say the name, but they gave this show an A minus. And I was listening to their review, and I'm listening to them give this show an A minus, and I was thinking like, what about this show is an A minus? What did I not see? And then I was thinking, okay, like I know they're big time media production, so they kind of have to keep a favorable relationship with WWE. So you factor that in. We gave it a 5.5. An A minus, I assume that's like a 9 out of 10. So I don't know if like that media partnership is worth like a 4.5 point curve, on the show. Like I'm not sure. I must have missed something because I don't know. I didn't see that show as an A minus. I could see it as like a C plus. If you want to give it a B minus, sure, I won't argue, but I can't see it much higher than that.
Well, I rate the shows based on feel, especially like when you're watching it. Some shows, even this year, this Triple H era, Elimination Chamber, WrestleMania 39, Night 1 especially, Backlash. Those are sort of the big examples I can think of where you're watching the show and not that you think, oh my god, it's just not going to end. You're thinking to yourself, like once you get 3-4 hours in and it's about to end, you're like, wow, I really enjoyed myself. That was really, this happened, this happened, this happened, this big main event, this happened. The SummerSlam, probably because of the rematches as well, it was sort of like, okay, yeah, I mean, Rollins retained. He was always going to, oh yeah, Cody and Brock for the third time, cool. Logan and Ricochet had a 20-minute match with a weird ending. Okay. Okay, the main event, awfully predictable. That one quick thing on that would have been so much better if Roman wasn't champion. Jey Uso was never going to win the belt. So it was like, okay, well, Roman's going to win in the end and they're going to go 36 minutes. So, okay. That's sort of how I view it. And then the feel of all that combined together, Kevin, just makes the show feel just like a drag, which that's how SummerSlam felt to me. I didn't watch it at 11 p.m. like you did live. That must have been just like, I can see why you gave it 5.5. It's just the drag. And it is interesting you mentioned the media relationships of some podcasts who will give that event 8.5, 9 out of 10. Just because I guess one, Triple H wrote it, two, you want to seem like WWE and you're pro WWE or you're really super supportive of everything they do, but that just becomes dishonest. We saw this in the AEW honeymoon phase from 2019 to 2022, where they could do no wrong. You couldn't say anything was even okay. Everything had to be good to great. You couldn't even pick a hole in anything without being attacked. We both know that very well, and is something similar to an effect happening with this Triple H era, where you even criticize anything, you can't criticize it. Anything that's bad is Vince McMahon's fault, but anything that's good is Triple H's responsibility. It's all Triple H is doing. Like, okay, cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, with that being said, you mentioned AEW in the honeymoon phase. So I'll ask you now, at
mm,
this current moment, it is August
mhm.
9th, 2023. What catches your eye from AEW?
I mean, CM Punk, what he's doing is really good. I must give that a shout out. I know there's a couple of other things which are happening, most namely MJF Powell being like a babyface, which is a bit weird with Adam Cole. But really, the one thing about Punk, when I watch those segments, it's a lot of what we really did sort of want. You know, when he would come back, like he's having a really engaging feud with Ricky Starks.
Yeah.
There's a bit of meat on the bone there. Starks actually beaten him a couple times. It actually feels more important than the ones last year where it was like, Darby Allin, I like you because you wear face paint. Let's have a match. Like 2 years ago. Now it feels like there's more meat on the bone there. Ricky Steamboat back involved. Collision has more of an identity. Feels like the CM Punk show. So just that sort of thing catches my eye. That's the thing I'm watching. When Collision happens, when Dynamite happens, when they're building to All In, All Out, what Punk's doing is capturing my eye, capturing my attention, and some Ricky Starks being that is good. And then I'll pass to you, Kevin. MJF and Cole. I want your opinion on that because that's, in many ways, the other big thing that's happening, the other notable talking point in AEW. How do you feel they've done with that? Where are you at with MJF and Cole, pal?
I feel like they've done an excellent job with it. I feel like that act is carrying AEW right now, on its back. In all honesty, they've been playing this like buddy cop thing. They're gonna wrestle each other at All In Wembley Stadium. The segments are highly entertaining. I can't take anything away from it. They're drawing the highest numbers in terms of ratings. They're selling the most merch. It's the hottest thing going right now. It could be like their version of the Bloodline if they just let it play out. Maybe add some more layers to it. I don't know. It's interesting. I saw a note too that last Wednesday, not this past Wednesday, but last Wednesday, the Elite actually lost like 150,000 viewers when they came on after MJF and Adam Cole. So that's fascinating. I wonder if Tony Khan's like crunching numbers and he's like, I just re-signed these guys like lucrative contracts and they're costing me viewers. Probably not though. But go ahead.
And just on that, I'll let you go on with that. It's now 2023. We're going into 2024. Has the elites run in AEW? I mean, obviously they've been re-signed, so I'm not saying they're going to leave or anything like that. But has it run its course in the terms of fan investment? Like they clearly need to do something fresh to revitalize the Bucks, Omega. I mean, I guess Page to an extent, but mainly the Bucks and Omega, the EVPs. It's now going into 2024. They need to spice them up. Would you agree? Like
Yeah.
we're now, like 2019, it was like, oh my god, Jericho and the Elite and Cody, oh my god. And then 2021, like in late 2020, half of 2021, it was like, oh my god, Omega's got like 8 belts. The Elite, Don Callis is 69ing Omega in the ring. Oh my god, it's Chris Daniels and Kazarian, pal. Like they were everywhere. They were like the main thing on Dynamite. And now, ratings are just dropping when they come on. It's like cool. And part of that, yes, is MJF and Cole's success. That's doing well. But you look at the Elite as the act and go, well, what are they offering us? What are they bringing to the show? Punk and Starks and Collision, that's its own thing. MJF, Cole, that's its own big thing that's doing good merch, good numbers, but the Elite.
Yeah. Pal, it's college football season coming up, so I don't know what that's going to do for Collision's bottom line and their interests. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But I don't want to bury Collision's ratings. So no need to do that. They were going up against SummerSlam, so that was just they didn't have a puncher's chance in the game at all in that one.
So one more thing on SummerSlam. You touched on this before. I want to double down on it. We did that 2010 to 2019 SummerSlam podcast about a month ago, and we discussed a lot of, this, but really, you look at SummerSlam, and WrestleMania is WrestleMania. It's the show of WWE. It's the big, it's the Super Bowl of wrestling. It's this big production, 2 nights, huge thing. The Royal Rumble's the Royal Rumble. It's just, it has such hype to it because of the nature of the unpredictability. Who's going to return? Who's going to win? How are they going to book the matches? Usually the cards are more interesting. They're like 4 or 5 matches. It's like all killer, no filler. SummerSlam now, it's, to me at least, and I'll get your opinion, it's sort of going more towards the Survivor Series route. in the, it's obviously the big four pay-per-view. It's always going to have that history, that tradition, but it's not on that WrestleMania or Royal Rumble interest level anymore. And it really hasn't been for a number of years. I mean, 2021 excluded because 2021 had a big SummerSlam. For the most part, it just feels like SummerSlam is a more spiced up version of just a monthly pay-per-view. They might be done in the bigger stadium, but there's nothing really that fresh we're getting as far as matchups. We don't really get legendary matches there much. I mean, Brock had a tractor. That was cool. Cena and Roman was cool in 2021. Roman return. It has its like moment each year, generally. But it's not like the Royal Rumble. It's not on the level of WrestleMania anymore. It's more towards Survivor Series, Money in the Bank. They're all sort of in that group, would you say?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. It just gets hyped up as this big show because it's been that. Just the marketing machine has been behind it. But it usually doesn't deliver on that sort of that marketing.
Pal, it's like LeBron on the Lakers. It's like, it's going to deliver. It's LeBron. It's like, yeah, but it's not 2018 anymore. It's not 2009. It's not the same. Like, yes, it's LeBron James, but it's in year 2020. It's in year 21. It's year 20. It's not the same product. You can't bank on it being as good as it used to be. And that's SummerSlam. That's SummerSlam 2023. It's SummerSlam, pals, the biggest party of the summer. But I mean, Kevin, if I had to, we're calling SummerSlam the biggest party of the summer. That's like a party where it starts off good for the first hour and a half, like it did this year. Then someone collapses drunk and the ambulance gets called when the Ronda Shayna match comes in, and then it just kills the rest of the night. That's the biggest party this summer, Kevin. So there you go. So, Kevin, SmackDown's now in the books. I'm dressed a bit differently. You're dressed a bit differently. You got a nice background for all our YouTube viewers. Yeah. A few things have happened on SmackDown. Was it the most all-timer legendary SmackDown? Not really, but there's some stuff to talk about for our show. So, Kevin, I'm just going to hit it straight to you. Last week and the last couple of shows, you've been praying to the wrestling god JBL. Your prayers for Theory to lose the title, you've been begging, praying. It's happened. Kevin, Rey Mysterio, your GOAT, one of them, is the US champion now. Thoughts?
Well, I prayed to JBL. Thank you, JBL, for answering my prayers. I prayed to JBL last week that LA Knight would win the US title. But hey, I'll take it. As long as Rey Mysterio is US champion, that just means that Austin Theory is not the champion anymore. It's over. Thank you, JBL, taking that championship off of Austin Theory. My question here is now, this is really the big headline-grabbing question here. Is the United States Championship going to be defended on pay-per-views now going forward?
Oh, that's a good one. Because, Kevin, as we know, Theory held that championship. Actually, let's do a bit here, Kevin. Guess how long Theory's US title run was. Whether you want to guess days, months, off the top of your head, how long did Theory hold this title? I'll
say just under 300 days, like 275 days, something like that.
Basically, and the final number is 258 days, so it's basically 9 months. 9 months he held this championship, which is egregious, as you would say. Theory's now not the champion anymore. Hallelujah.
Thank you, JBL.
Mysterio. Pal, we bashed Theory enough. We buried him in previous weeks. This is more about Rey. First off, hats off to Rey Mysterio. This is one of the greatest of all time. As far as a universally beloved wrestler, you never hear anything bad about Rey Mysterio outside the fact that he beats his kids. Besides that, that's a storyline. Allegedly. So outside of that, pal, going forward, the US Championship, will be defended on pay-per-view to answer the question? I hope so, because why not, pal? This championship is being held by a legend like Rey Mysterio. You're trying to make it feel important. Rey Mysterio, he can have a feud with maybe Santos Escobar. They can do something there. Maybe LA Knight versus Rey Mysterio potentially for like a one-off match for a face versus face. I don't know. Rey Mysterio, maybe Dom comes after the title again as like a one-off. Who knows? Maybe he can wrestle some Grayson Waller. They're doing the Waller effect, that segment next week with Rey Mysterio and Grayson Waller. So there's a number of guys who can wrestle Rey for it. It's infinitely more interesting because Theory's not the champion. That's the sort of main takeaway from tonight, Kevin. Thank God Theory's not the champion, pal. Hallelujah. Thank you, JBL, wrestling god.
So what does that tell us for, like, when is LA Knight getting his title opportunity? Is that like next month? Is that a payback? I don't know.
As we discussed a bit before, he's facing the Miz now. I guess they're doing a Miz feud.
I thought the Slim Jim Battle Royal was for the U.S. title opportunity. No.
No, not that I was aware of. It was just sort of a Slim Jim meat stick battle royal, as you described it.
I don't know where I saw that then. I don't know. I saw somebody on Twitter say for a U.S. title opportunity. Never mind. Regardless, forget that. So LA Knight is going to face the Miz. That's not important. So now Rey Mysterio is U.S. champion. That's what we're looking at. I mean, it's a legend like Rey Mysterio, as you said. You would think a guy like Rey Mysterio could at least be on the payback card. You know, get a rematch, particularly Rey Mysterio versus Austin Theory. I wouldn't be against watching that match. I'd rather see Rey Mysterio face literally anybody else on the roster. Like, I'd rather see him face you at this point. Just have you go out there, and we'll just have Rey Mysterio versus JT in a legitimate shoot fight in the middle of Payback to kill the crowd worse than Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler did in Detroit at SummerSlam. I'd rather see that at this point than see Austin Theory have a wrestling match.
The crowd getting reactions of Shayna Baszler. Can we pump the brakes for a second? You've implied I'm like Shayna Baszler. You know I'd be more like Grayson Waller if you need a comparison. How dare you, Kevin, imply I'd get reactions like Ronda and Shayna Baszler? That I'd come out there, JT, I'd do my entrance, and the whole crowd, Kevin, would do this. They'd stand up, they'd get their hands and sit on their hands and not react. Are you implying that, Kevin? How dare you? Next question. That's ridiculous.
Well, they wouldn't know who you are. You know, like if we just plucked you right now and put you in the beginning of September on the payback card, everybody would be like, "Wait, who is this JT guy? What did he do? What dues did he pay? What 5-star matches did he have on the Indies?" That's what every single casual fan in the audience would be asking.
Kevin, it's wrestling. I'll insult the local sports team and tell the crowd to shut up, and I'll get an easy reaction, pal.
Oh,
anyway, with that being said, Kevin, let's segue into what I would say most of us are here for. I think most of us are really here for LA Knight and The Miz from earlier on the show. But the other big topic, the other big talking point, Kevin, Roman Reigns, Joseph Anoa'i, the undisputed, universal, unheralded, unclaimed, whatever champion.
Gold mustard.
Hot gold mustard, dirty, spewy mustard, belt champion, whatever, Roman Reigns, 1,000+ days in his run, stat padding. He came out to address the bloodline, Kevin. Joe Anoa'i addressed the state of his dysfunctional Samoan family. Jimmy Uso got involved. Jey Uso got involved. Solo Sikoa was there. Heyman was there. Kevin, I'm going to pass this right to you, pal. What were your honest thoughts? Has Jey Uso quit WWE, pal?
I was so confused during this whole segment. That this is what I think happened. I'm just going to say this. I think that WWE, particularly maybe Triple H, was looking at the internet's reaction to the SummerSlam ending and was seeing everybody complain like, oh, so we're just going to have Jimmy come out there and be jealous that Jey challenged for the championship and he didn't. So I think that was the original plan, and they just rewrote this like on the fly to not do that. That's what it seemed like. Like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks this. This segment didn't make a ton of sense. Like, Roman's out there doing the acknowledge me stuff. And he's like, Paul, where's Jimmy? And then Jimmy just, like, magically appears at ringside. And he's staring at Roman. And then it's like, okay, cool. Jimmy's here. So Jimmy gets in the ring. He's yelling at Roman, I didn't do that for you. I did it for me. And then out comes Jey, big babyface reaction. And then they're talking, and they're just like, I don't know. It was weird. Like, Jimmy's like, I did it for you to protect you. I didn't want you to become like him. To become like the tribal chief. That does not seem like a good enough reason to have Jimmy interfere in this match. I don't know. There's too much going on. Like, I don't know how Wrestling Gifts described it in his video. I can't remember the exact word he used. But basically what they're doing is they're just doing a swerve for the sake of a swerve, an extra layer to the story for the sake of an extra layer. I can't remember the word, but that's what it seems like here. And now I don't know if I'm all that interested in watching Jey versus Jimmy going forward. I don't know. I mean, it's just one segment. They could grab me back, but that's my instant thoughts on it right now.
No, I understand that. And I think what you're implying, what I deduced from that is WWE, when they throw a swerve and a curveball, like once the SummerSlam ending and now this follow-up where now Jey he's gonna like leave, walk out of WWE, I guess. main event Jey is just going to leave. They need to be a little careful. I'm not implying it's getting down this rabbit hole for a second, but I'm saying you keep throwing random weird curveballs. It's like, why? The more you do that, the more it becomes like the Bray Wyatt storytelling, where it's just sort of like you lose track of what's going on. You're just like, it's a lot of family hysteria and you don't really know the kind of principle. So hopefully they keep it making sense going forward. I do like the point you make there about Jimmy Uso costing Jey because he doesn't want him to be, the next tribal chief, the next like head honcho Samoan asshole who bullies everyone like Roman is. I get it. But like, I mean, Jey could have won the title and then you could have addressed that once he won the title, I guess, Like, shouldn't you have maybe want to help your brother win and then you can make sure he doesn't become like Roman? Or is it the symbolism of a Samoan necklace, I guess, makes him some asshole? I guess. I don't know. Whatever. So, Jey Uso is now officially left WWE, pal. He's off to AEW. We'll see Jey Uso at All In. We'll see Jey Uso at All Out, pal. CM Punk will be 45 minutes into a match against Ricky Starks. And then Jey Uso will come through the crowd. Don't play games with me, Uso. He'll be slap kicking Ricky Starks.
Hold on, I got to stop you real quick.
Yeah.
If we have to sit through 45 minutes, and you implied that would be the middle of the match, 45 minutes of CM Punk and Ricky Starks? Oh my god. All In will definitely not be worth the money.
But yeah, no, so the main takeaway and the main sort of thing I'm getting at there is when you're doing Jey versus Jimmy, maybe what they've done is they've gone, okay, this is probably the greatest tag team of all time, or one of them. This is the Mount Rushmore tag team. Do we want to do their breakup match at the end of August at a Payback show? That could be part of it as well. Maybe they're like, okay, we've done the big turn. Do we want to do the match at Payback? Who remembers Payback? Like, Kevin, what are the great Payback moments you can remember in history? Ryback in the ambulance.
Roman winning the Universal Championship.
There's one in front of no one. What else?
I think that's it.
Like 2014.
Oh, CM Punk.
CM
Punk 2013.
Yep, in Chicago.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, there was the moment where Paul Heyman was like, when the crowd was chanting for Punk, and Paul Heyman was like, he's at the Blackhawks game. That was funny. That was actually funny.
Yeah. Like, the point being, it's not Survivor Series, it's not Royal Rumble, and it's like, these are the two greatest tag team guys. So are they going to do the match still? I don't know. Maybe they do the match and it's incredible. I don't know. But this is what our initial reactions are after this really mysterious sort of weird segment. Jey Uso, the main event. Jey Uso main event of WrestleMania and SummerSlam and was a key piece in the ending of the Royal Rumble, that cinema they did. This is like one of the main guys in your company. It's like, oh, I'm leaving now. It's like, oh, what?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. So let me describe the ending of the segment for the lovely listeners that didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
So after, Jimmy walks out after Jey is like, doesn't attack him. Like, Jimmy's like, I did this to protect you. You can attack me. Jey doesn't do anything. So Jimmy walks out. He has his back to the ring. Jey gets attacked by Solo and Roman. And then it's like, okay, here we go. All right, these guys are fighting. Jimmy's going to come out. Then Jey goes like, come on, Jimmy, hug me. After he takes out Roman and Solo. He super kicks Jimmy, and then he just looks at the camera and he's like, I'm out of the Bloodline, I'm out of SmackDown, and I'm out of WWE. And now I'm thinking, okay, where is this going? Are we gonna have like Jey Uso like segments now where he's doing vignettes like at ice cream shops? And he's just like having a bowl of vanilla ice cream? And he's like, oh, I'm not in the Bloodline anymore. He's like getting emotional while he's eating his ice cream, doing an interview with Kathy Kelly, and he's like, oh, I can't take this anymore, guys. My family's torn apart, and then like Jimmy's gonna beat him up at the ice cream parlor. Like, what? I don't know. They could do a lot. That'd actually be pretty entertaining. I'd like to see that.
Well, Kevin, I mean, you just mentioning that, my creative mind's got spinning now, and like they go down that rabbit hole. Have Jey Uso. They do a whole segments, vignettes. Jey Uso is either at a pub, a bar, or something. He's getting away from it all. He's having a breakup. His family's just been chaos for like 3 years. He's been emotionally abused for 3 years. He's hidden the pub by himself. They make some slight jabs at, drinking responsibly and getting a driver home sort of thing to try and have some cheap shots of Jimmy Uso.
Oh my God.
For the sake of storyline.
Jeez.
And then you could have Jimmy Uso's reacting to this. Roman can sit at home with his 5 kids in Pensacola, Florida. Heyman's on the phone. they show Heyman, my tribal chief. He had two shots at the bar. My tribal chief. He's drinking. My tribal chief. Like, I don't know. Do something. Have Jey Uso. Just getting out and about, getting away from it all, pal. Jey Uso attending college football games. Jey Uso watching NBA trainings. Jey Uso, hitting up Mardi Gras. Who knows? Have Jey Uso on the town, pal. Jey Uso, he's at the Kevin family outing. He's at the dinner party. Jey Uso is a Taco Bell, pal. Like, make it like a 2-month thing of segments. Whole time Jimmy Uso is having like breakdowns for no reason. Solo standing there. Like that, pal. Heyman's crying on the phone on Skype to Roman Reigns. I don't know. If Jey Uso is just going to leave, Kevin, chances are Jey's just going to come back next week and nothing will be made of this and this won't get mentioned again. Chances are. But waits to be seen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, with that being said, pal, you ready to transition to the Around the World segment?
I am, pal. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, spin the globe.
Yeah!
Around the world.
Spin that globe, baby, yeah!
Oh, man. So earlier on in the show, you made mention of, like, somebody in passing. You made mention of, like, somebody being at a party and just having too much to drink. And having the ambulance called on him. Right?
I made an analogy, yeah.
You made an analogy. So they got my juices flowing. That inspired this story that I'm going to tell.
Yeah.
So I have a great story of that exact moment actually transpiring in my real life.
Oh, no.
So I went to Mexico a little while back. And I was at one of those all-inclusive resort things, So I literally went around the world, pal. We're going around the world. Yeah. I was in Mexico. I was in one of the resort parts, having a good time. Yeah. Have you ever been to like an all-inclusive resort or anything like that?
And define all-inclusive. What exactly do you mean by?
So you go there and like literally everything you need is in this resort. They have the food, and it's all included for one fee. Food, drinks, the hotel.
Yeah.
So you don't so the idea is like you don't leave, you just stay in the resort, everything's there for you.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where the bar is like open all day from like 11 a.m. to like 11 o'clock at night, right? And you guys,
this is gonna go well. Okay, carry on.
You guys know me. I'm a heavy drinker, so I can handle my liquor. That's just me.
That's what they all say. Carry on.
The person I was with at that time was someone that was significant to me, right? And so me and this person were chilling, whatever. I'm sitting at the bar in the pool drinking. They're drinking with me. Having a great old time in Mexico on vacation. Very nice, beautiful. All of a sudden, there's another person comes up to me at the bar. And she's like way out of it. She's like probably had like 10 drinks. It's like 3 p.m. Sun is shining. We're in Mexico in the summer in the desert. Sun is shining in my face. This person is talking to me and she's like, the person that you're with is really attractive, I want to hang out with you guys. And I'm like, I'm just like, okay, I mean, she's over there. You can ask her, I can't make that call. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my God.
So this person goes over to the person I'm with and is like, I don't know what happened. I don't know. All I know is I'm watching this transpire and I'm just like looking. I'm just like, okay, this is cool. So like 5 minutes later, the person comes back to me. The person I was with comes back to me. We're sitting there talking. All of a sudden, all you see is everybody in the pool start freaking out. Start jumping up and down, like screaming. The other person, this random chick, fell into a bush at 3 p.m. because they were so drunk. Literally got like super, super drunk. Like collapsed in a bush, the middle of Mexico. I don't know how that, like where the like emergency people are. I don't know how long it'll take them to get there. They gotta come in, they gotta cart this girl out. Carry her out. Yes.
Didn't you? Is it? Oh my god! Like
No,
what?
no, like I don't know. I couldn't believe it. It was like I don't know. It was incredible. I never see anything like it. Like everybody was like trying to help. Like they were trying to carry her out. Like people from the pool, random patrons on vacation, trying to carry this girl out of the bushes, and she fell while they were carrying her.
What? Okay. I don't have much on that, you know. Do you want to just leave it there for this week's Around the World, pal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, we got to get something out of this. We got to fill the time here somehow. We're only like
Well, we
4
got a good
minutes in.
show. I mean, we've gone around now in total, Kevin. Yeah.
I mean, I could just tell more ridiculous stories.
We want to have that one, Kevin. We're not trying to finish our podcast within 3 weeks. We're trying to go for a long time, pal. Kevin, when I'm in a studio in Brooklyn with you doing this show in like 4 years, you got to have these stories to tell. So save them. But yeah, wow, 3 p.m. in the afternoon, just absolutely blackout drunk, collapsed in a bush, patrons running over, frantically jumping up and down. Kevin's there dealing with like a situation going on with someone of significance and then some random, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like to be frank, I'm thinking I'm gonna have a threesome. Like that's what I'm thinking here. You know? I'm like, oh, okay. This drunk girl likes the person I'm with. All right, this could be fun. And then 5 minutes later, she's getting carried out by the ambulance. You know? I told you this. I told you off air. This story was wild.
It's been a late heat, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Good show that. Next week, we'll be back at you with grading Triple H a year in, I think. The All-In show will be the week after, whatever. Really good episode, everybody. Thanks for listening. Kevin, any closing thoughts?
Oh, man. Wow, if you made it this far, you might as well give us a 5-star review on Spotify. We'll talk to you on the next one.